Welcome to another story made by Oracle 1. The Park of Memories. Ethan's footsteps echoed softly against the cracked pavement as he wandered through the familiar pathways of Everwood Park, a place he visited every morning without fail. The sun cast a warm golden hue over the sprawling oaks and blooming tulips that bordered the lined paths. Yet, despite the vivid colors, Ethan's heart clung to a faint haze, one defined by something missing, pieces of himself slipping slowly into forgetfulness. Diagnosed with early-onset memory loss, Ethan had come to rely on a battered leather journal that he carried with him everywhere. The journal was his tether to a reality that sometimes slipped away like sand through his fingers. Each page was filled with neat, purposeful handwriting documenting moments, feelings, and faces, anchors against oblivion. He came here to think, to remember, and occasionally to write. This journal contained his truth and his past, even if sometimes they felt like stories told by a stranger. The words that traced the margins of his life were his last sanctuary from the shadows creeping into his mind. One brisk morning, as the crisp autumn breeze scattered leaves around his worn sneakers, Ethan stopped on a bench he frequented near the pond. He flipped his journal open to an entry he had written only days before, a story about a woman whose face had slipped from his memory like a name on a tongue but who was unmistakably important. The entry read, "She walks with grace that commands the attention of the wind itself. Her laughter is a melody that colors the grayest of days. In my heart, there is a photograph. A snapshot of a moment with her smiling beside me, though I cannot recall her name or where this image came from. The pages insist she is my light, but in my head, she is nothing more than a mist." He paused, trying desperately to evoke any recollection of her name, her voice, the touch of her hand, but his mind was stubbornly blank. Then, with the journal still open on his knee, Ethan felt a sudden presence beside him. "Hello, Ethan," a soft voice said, wrapped in warmth and familiarity that stirred something deep within him, a pulse, a spark of recognition. He lifted his gaze, and there she was, the woman from the story. Her dark hair fell in gentle waves over her shoulders, and her eyes, deep and knowing, held a glow that seemed to carry 1,000 unspoken promises. He stared, speechless, as if the mist shielding her from his mind had finally lifted. He hardly dared to believe she was real, that she had stepped out from the pages of his journal and into his world. "I'm Leah," she said, sitting beside him without hesitation. "You don't remember me, do you?" Ethan shook his head slowly, fear and hope mingling in his chest. "No, I'm sorry. I have these gaps. But you seem familiar." Leah smiled softly. "That's because we've shared more than a few moments in this very park. You've told me yourself, through your journal when you couldn't speak the words out loud." She reached into her coat and pulled out a small stack of photographs, handing them to him. In the first photo, they were sitting on this same bench, Ethan laughing as Leah held out a freshly picked flower. Another showed them in the rain, soaked but smiling, wrapped together in an umbrella's meager cover. In each picture, Ethan found himself, joyful, alive, deeply connected to her. But none of these images stirred the memories he longed to retrieve. "I'm scared," Ethan admitted, voice trembling. "If you're really who you say you are, then how could I forget you? How do I fight this? Losing parts of myself day by day." Leah squeezed his hand gently. "I'm here, Ethan. We'll rebuild what's lost, one step at a time. Memory loss is cruel, but love, true love, can be a bridge when the shore seems impossibly distant." Days melted into weeks as Leah became Ethan's compass in the labyrinth of his mind. She never pressured him to remember, instead, she filled their days with new memories, small adventures that Ethan recorded diligently in his journal. Their mornings were spent in the park under the golden searing light, Afternoons drifting through local cafes where Ethan would study her smile as she told stories of their past. Stories she hoped would nestle into his heart's hidden places. One chill morning, as frost kissed the edges of fallen leaves, Ethan found himself drawn to a path they hadn't explored before. Leah walked beside him, weaving her fingers through his, steady and unwavering. They reached a small garden tucked away behind an old stone wall, vibrant even in late autumn, ablaze with chrysanthemums and the rich scent of earth. Leah paused there, glancing at Ethan with an intensity that warmed the cold air. "This is where we promised each other forever," she said quietly. "Before the memories faded, before you started forgetting. I carry that promise for both of us." Ethan knelt by a simple bench carved with their initials. The words pressed against his ribs as if they were a secret waiting to be unlocked. He touched the wooden surface reverently, overwhelmed by the feeling that this place pulsed with every story he had forgotten. That night, he sat by the window, journal on his lap, pondering the journey ahead. He was beginning to understand that even if memories slipped away, the feelings beneath them, warmth, love, belonging, could live on, resilient as the stars. He wrote a new entry. "Today, Leah and I found a sanctuary of promises woven into the garden silence. I may lose what I knew, but I hold on tightly to what I feel. This love, though fragile, is my steady flame in the encroaching dark." As winter arrived, the park transformed into a snowy wonderland, blanketing every pathway and bench in pristine white. Ethan and Leah continued their visits, sitting wrapped in scarves and each other's presence. With Leah's patient guidance, Ethan discovered ways to anchor new memories, photographs with dates, stories told aloud every evening, and the ritual of writing together before sleep. Slowly, fragments of the past shimmered back at him. A laugh, a scent, a stolen kiss beneath the stars. Each like a faint light growing stronger in the night. One particularly still evening, after a day softened by gentle snowfall, Leah led Ethan to that cherished garden. He noticed the bench had been freshly painted, their initials carved deeper and surrounded by tiny heart motifs. Leah looked at him, eyes glistening with tears both happy and weary. "Ethan, when you can't remember the past, I hope these moments we make from now on will be the memories that stay. I promise I'll be here, every step, every breath." Ethan smiled, a clarity blooming within him he hadn't felt in months. "I don't remember all of yesterday, or even sometimes just this morning," he whispered, "but I do remember you. Not just your face or your name, but the way you make my heart feel alive again." Under the watchful gaze of moonlight filtering through frosted branches, they sat together, two souls tethered by love's endurance. The park around them wasn't just a place of trees and paths, but a sanctuary stitched with stories, of loss and rediscovery, of courage in the face of fading mirrors, and of a love so tender that even memory could never fully erase it. For more stories, like and subscribe.